Good morning 0 to 60 viewers. Welcome back to my E39 540i. It's been a little while since the last video and a lot has happened. Long story short, I bought the car back from my insurance company. In the last video, especially after posting it, I was starting to think, I was getting some feedback from people and weighing up the pros and cons and the real costs of what it would be to actually repair. And I was starting to think it would be smarter to move on, just take the payout and move on. But then I got the phone call from the insurance company with the figure that they wanted. And I thought for sure they're going to try and get as much money out of me as possible. And I might even have to try and play hardball, pretend that I don't want the car, to try and get it to come down cheaper. But the gentleman on the phone straight up just said, if you want to buy it back, you can have it for $1,500. Which, well, yeah, I didn't have to think about it for very long. I almost jumped at it. I'm pretty sure for that money, that makes it, I mean, yes, it is hail damaged, but it has to make it the cheapest 540i in Australia that actually runs and operates and works and drives nicely. The catch was, or one of the reasons that made it so enticing, is because here in Queensland, when a car is written off, it goes on to what's called the Written Off Vehicle Register, the WOVR. And for the rest of that car's life, it will show that it's been written off on that register. To get it removed from that register, so you can't even legally drive the car on the road if it's on that register. You have to repair it, get it inspected, which obviously it all costs money and time. But the inspection, they ensure that it's done safely so that it will be roadworthy and that you haven't just gone and stolen another car and used the VIN number and doing anything dodgy that way. So it is a bit of a process, and obviously for the rest of that car's life it will show that it's been written off. However, for hail damage vehicles, there is a bit of a loophole. Apparently, if it's over 16 years old, it doesn't go onto that register. So it's not actually a proper write-off. The insurance company just declares it as a value write-off, and then they say, well, it's not worth repairing, so it is a write-off, and then they can make the payout and get rid of the car. So with this car, because it didn't actually get put into that written off vehicle register, the registration wasn't cancelled, it's still drivable on the road, you can just keep driving it. So essentially I've got a $1,500 V8 BMW that drives absolutely fine. Although yes, if you look closely, it's pretty ugly on the front end. The other reason I really wanted to buy the car back is because I just put these wheels, which, if you're familiar with E39s, you know they have stupid hub sizes. So wheels and spacers from, well, actually I bought the wheels from my other car, for my other E39, but I just fitted them up to this with the correct spacers to get the stance that I wanted. And I'd also just put a brand new battery in it, which was over $300. So if I let the car go, then I'd lose all that as well. But it worked out, so that the actual process with the insurance company was pretty good. And I guess they were so happy to take the $1,500 because at this point in time, when they had, well, just after the storms, when I was going through this process with them, they would have had an influx of cars that they were doing the same thing with. So I guess they were thinking, if we take it to auction, like I said before, one of these cars at auction, it can't be worth much because you don't know what condition it's in, you don't know if the engine works or the gearbox works or whatever. So they're not worth that much at auction, but also, as there would just be an influx of cars being sent to auction, it's probably a bad time to try and get any decent money for them at auction as well. So I guess that's, plus all the hassle, there's probably heaps of other cars that they do have to send to auction, so they're organising the transport and the paperwork and everything. It's probably easier for them to just go, bugger it, deal's done, get $1,500 for it, and then sign it off, no more hassle with David and his stupid 540. So it worked out well for me, and basically the insurance that I had set up with them, even after I paid the excess, the payout basically covered the entire vehicle, everything I'd spent on the car at that point in time, including the battery and the wheels. So that was a bit of a win. And then, so as of right now, that car literally owes me $1,500. Which is awesome because a month ago it owed me a hell of a lot more than that, and I've still got the exact same car, pretty much in the same condition except for the hail damage on the front. But with that, I've had a bit of a win as well. I set up search results, so I would get email notifications anytime a broken E39 would pop up. And there was plenty popping up, but they were in Sydney and Melbourne and Perth, which, if you're not from Australia, that's a bit of a bugger when the car doesn't actually drive. It will cost, it will cost the same or more than what the car is worth in transport. But I ended up finding one locally that had a blown motor. They originally wanted over $2,000 for the car, but it was really well spec'd. It was a 2001 black 535. So it's the V8 just like this. So it has the same brakes, and there was a lot of other parts that I could use for spare parts. I went and had a look, and it was a full black interior, and it was pretty well spec'd as well. Like, it's got heated seats and that sort of stuff. So I liked the car. It was the update as well. So good headlights and tail lights and all that sort of stuff. No actual body damage because it was a motor failure. I ended up doing a little bit of Ed Boylan, some shrewd negotiating. I ended up getting the car for $1,100, which some might argue that's not very good considering it doesn't have an engine, but I think that was pretty fair. And especially it was easier, especially not being a 6-cylinder model. You can get the 525s and the 528s a little bit cheaper, but considering there was no body damage, it's got good headlights and tail lights and all that sort of stuff, and it was local, I really liked it, which I just thought, done, I'll take it. Because it didn't work, I did have to get it towed, even though it was literally about 4 kilometers away. I thought about just towing it behind the van or something. So it was $100 to get the tow truck to come and grab it. So far, I'll keep a running tally. I'm going to, because this has just been incredibly cheap now, I think I'm going to be a bit silly, and I'm going to do a few things to it and just have a bit of fun. Like I said before, I do love the bloody car, and it's, well, if you've seen the G6E Falcon video, I touch on the fact how driving a fast car as a daily can get you in trouble. This thing's just comfortable and makes a cool noise. It's slow compared to modern cars, or something like the M5 or whatever. So that's probably a better option for me. I'll definitely keep my license for longer. So I'm just going to have a bit of fun with it, do some things, do some modifications, and I'll do a bit of a build project or a bit of a build diaries on the channel as well, so you can, if you're interested, subscribe and follow along to the build. So I'll keep a running tally of the costs. So far it was $1,500 for the car and $1,200 for the parts car delivered. But I'll try and get some, it's in there already. I've already pulled the headlights out. I was pretty excited, and they're absolutely fine. There's no cracks or whatever. And if you remember, the front left headlight did get damaged in the storm. It looked pretty, it looked a bit sun damaged anyway. I initially found just replaceable lenses, and I thought I'll have a crack at melting the lens off and putting a new one on. But when this parts car come up with 2 good headlights in it anyway, that's obviously a lot better. And you can imagine when the insurance company was doing the quote, I don't know if it's a clause or what the issue is, but they won't fit any aftermarket parts when they're doing a insurance claim or a repair. So they would have been quoting on a genuine BMW headlight and bonnet and guards and everything else, which is obviously why it wasn't feasible to repair the goddamn car. But by buying an entire donor car for $1,200, I've now got the headlights sorted, I've got a new bonnet and guards with no damage, and unfortunately it turns out they are a different shade of black. So I will have to get them painted, but I've spoken to a mate and he said he's happy to help me out, which is perfect. I've seen his work and it is phenomenal for somebody that's not a professional painter. But doing it that, if he comes around and does it, I'll be able to actually help him prep for the paint and hopefully save a bit more money that way. So it shouldn't cost very much to get those panels color coded to this thing. So far it was $1,500 for this car, $1,200 for the parts car, and because that was such a little amount of money, I nearly straight away bought an Android smart head unit for this thing as well. If you don't know what they are, it's almost like a smartphone but for your car, and it's all built into the unit. I'll do a video on installing to actually see what it's like, but yeah, basically you get Netflix and Spotify and YouTube and Google Maps and Waze and everything all built into the car. And it's good for you hook your reversing camera up to it and that sort of stuff as well. And of that would be a nice addition to the old 5 Series. So I've already bought one of them. I won't include that yet because I'll do a video on the actual unit, and there'll be other costs as well. I'm going to put a new sub in there and an amp and all that sort of stuff. So there'll be some other costs. But so far, to have the car at the moment with the new parts to go in it. It's only been $1,500 for this, $1,200 for the parts car. Obviously there will be a little bit of paint, and I have bought, because obviously I can't replace the roof from the parts car. Well, I probably could if you were really keen, but I'm not that keen. So I have bought a dent repair kit as well. I actually bought a slide hammer, a tap hammer kit, and it turns out Old Man already had a lever dent puller, and they weren't very much. I'll put all the prices up so you can keep track of what this thing's cost, but I reckon I'm going to be able to build one hell of a car that looks pretty cool, sounds awesome, goes okay, and is a lot of fun to drive by adding things like the head unit, the Android head unit. It should be quite a nice daily car as well, and quite fun to actually drive and commute, and quite comfortable to commute to and from work in. So again, I am sorry about it being such a delay between the actual hail damage video going up and this video, but a lot has been happening, and honestly, I'm actually quite excited about building this thing up, because I do love these E39s. If you are interested, please subscribe and follow along, because there's going to be a few videos, and we're going to be doing a lot of fun mods with it as well. Maybe some silly ones, but we'll see. Like I said, the first thing I'm going to tackle is get the Android head unit installed and see what that's like with all the apps and all that cool stuff. But then the next thing is I'm going to have to guard roll this thing, because it turns out the spacers I've put on with these wheels, it rubs, particularly when you've got a full tank of fuel. It's not good. Ooh, yeah, that's tyre there. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Do appreciate it. Leave us a comment for if you reckon I've made a stupid decision, but if that is the case, just bear with me. I think you'll see it is worth it, and come on, for $1,500, even if you weren't going to repair it, who wouldn't spend $1,500 on a V8 BMW? But I mean, it's running now. It's quiet, smooth. I mean, yes, it is ugly, but it works, and it sounds like this. I love this thing. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. The other thing, if you are familiar with E39s, you'll know the cup holders are terrible. So with the money that I got back from the payout, I also bought these right-hand drive version of these aftermarket cup holders, which do actually hold a McDonald's coffee without spilling over. So number one upgrade for E39 owners is the deep well cup holders.